beautiful people. You're welcome to another interesting edition of News Trend. You know how we do it. We bring you trending news in and around the country, and today is no exception. We have something interesting for you today, and it's something that has been trending. It didn't just start. It started like a few weeks ago with a video where we saw the Pastor Chris Oyakhilome of Christ Embassy. He was talking, must have been a service or something, but he was talking to the congregation, but he was talking directly at Sinach. You must know Sinach, the popular Nigerian gospel artist, who is also a member of his church, you know. And he was countering her, I don't know what to even call that, attacking her about her song, you know, saying that why would she be saying God is a way maker, miracle worker. And, you know, I was shocked. I'm sure a lot of people too were shocked. Like, what do you mean? Is that what we have been used to? That, okay, God is a miracle worker, promise keeper and all that. And they've even been singing that song, you know, along. There's been instances that we saw him singing the song we had and all that. So what happened all of a sudden, you know? And that was what started this. Only for us to now start seeing subsequent videos days after, weeks after, about him and other pastors talking about gospel artists, how they shouldn't be charging for money, and how he, Pastor Chris Oyakhilome of Christ Embassy Church, how he dissolved his Love World Records, and how he doesn't want his people to be charging money, that they're supposed to be doing it for the church and they shouldn't be collecting money. And it's a lot. And today we are going to be discussing it. And of course, I have my usual co-host / guest in the house.
The music in the church became worldly. They danced for themselves and celebrated themselves, not God. How many of those singers were soul winners? They were never soul winners. They will lead praise in the church, and when it's time for prayer, they're out. They've gone to another church to do another song. They were professionals, making money from the church, charging for their singing, pretending they were singing praise to God. It was all a charade. And many of the pastors didn't know that this was the world coming to the church, and they helped to celebrate them. I did at the beginning. When I changed, they refused to change with me. Yeah, I had to let them go, because God was getting my attention and telling me, no, this is not the way. So I came back and I said to them, hey, if anybody celebrated you, I did. I did. I said, now the Lord is asking us to do the right thing. And I showed from the scripture what was the right thing. And well, they had become too popular, and they were making some money, which wasn't big money. Do they even know what money is? But the little money they were making was too attractive. Their hearts were overcharged. So they didn't want to follow me in the direction we were going. They made a detour. And I hope they all repent. Because I told them the direction they were going was the wrong direction. And one day, those churches that were inviting them to come and do special singing for them will stop inviting them. Once those churches repent and start doing the right thing too, they'll close their doors. Because what they're doing is not from God. I told you what the ministry is supposed to be like for true worship. So those people parading, going from place to place that they are worship leaders, there's nothing like that. They are not worship leaders. They're not worship leaders. That ministry doesn't exist. The only one who had that role was fired by God, and it was Satan.
You're welcome, sir.
Good day, viewers. I still remain a guest.
Okay, so we are going to be diving straight into it. So what I want us to start with Pastor Chris Oyakhilome and Sinach. I'm quite interested in that before we even get to you shouldn't be collecting money, or I don't even know if that is the genesis, if that's what started in the first place. Because, and from what I hear, I also hear that she's no longer in the church. She's no longer in Christ Embassy. So I want us to start with that. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, well, I'm very wary when it comes to religious issues. Not because one can't directly or quickly have an opinion, but you also need to understand where the person who is speaking is coming from. What perspective? What's the interpretation of that part of the Bible to that person? Because most of these things are based on interpretation and knowledge of the Bible. Sometimes you need to hear that perspective and understand it completely before you now make a comment and possibly advise the person to also see it from the perspective of others. Now, I attend a church where back to back, the heads of the choir, they are PhD holders. And that's job for them in the church, a full-time job.
I like how you said job. So it's a job.
Yes, they employ them.
They employed them.
So, if you have such people on your payroll, then you must pay them well. On one side. Then you have some people who are not employed. They are
volunteers.
Not volunteers per se. They are people who use their talents to make money. They are musicians.
Okay.
We can mention a couple of them. They are musicians. They are all of this. So what they now do is this. This is my talent.
Okay.
This is what, quote and unquote, I eat from. I used to feed my family. So what it means is, yes, I grew up in your church. I earned my skill
in your church.
In the church. But now that I'm grown up, this is the only skill that I have with which I can feed my family. So, where do we stand? Some people have seen me singing on your altar. They have come to invite me for ministration. And they are saying, when you come, or even a backup, when you come, we'll give you for this 1 hour appearance, let's just say 100,000.
Okay.
And for singing and staying in church from 8 a.m. to say 2 p.m. on Sundays, you want me to offer that service for free? If there's somebody who can offer me 200,000 will call me out on a Sunday morning, I have to go and do it because that is where I can feed from. You are saying what the situation looks like now. It's not saying sometimes, pay me. It's not saying sometimes, this is the amount I want to take. But your own free program clashes with a paid program. What do I do? And then we've also had that the musicians that are brought from outside the country, they are paid.
Heavily.
I remember some, and I won't mention it, up to 5-7 years now, my brother is a pastor, wanted to bring in a musician from the US. 5-7 years ago. And he said, don't worry, we like you. we won't take so much from you.
Mm.
But we need about $5,000 to fly in and out. And we need about another $10,000 for the night. So
That's talking $15,000.
and that was like 5-7 years ago. So
Are they coming with Jesus?
well,
Or were they coming with Jesus?
Jesus was waiting for them in the place.
Oh, I
So-
see.
Basically, what they are saying is, we are workers, and every worker is worthy of his
Of
wages.
his wages. you
That's
know.
basically what those people are saying. And that is why we must always view such issues from the perspective of those who are involved, those who are affected. So, can we sit down and relook at these things from the position of this is a talent? We remember the story in the Bible of Jesus Christ and the talents one master gave to somebody. If that person had buried his or her talents, you are going to have a liability in that church. That would be like the man who took the talent and went and hid it in the ground and said, this man is a wicked man. He wants to reap where he doesn't sow, where I had not sown. And then there is somebody they gave 2 talents who went and traded with it and made money. Somebody they gave 5 went and traded and made money. So it's a matter of how you view it. Because when you flip it over, it can be like, just like the mistakes we parents make. I paid your school fees. We are saying that to our children.
Exactly.
How you do this?
You know.
So why are you not sending me money in my old age? It's an error. You are supposed to prepare for your own old age. The church has reached a point where a lot of people outside no longer see it as simply worshiping God. They also see it as a money-making venture. Not with those who have universities, who have schools, who have academies for training pastors, all of this. Because you obviously can't train your pastors for free.
Exactly.
Somebody wants to come and obtain a certificate from your church.
In ministry, yeah.
That person pays. People don't train for free. So,
Even the pastors get paid.
yes, pastors are on salary
Pastors get paid.
because that's what the law says, apart from tips.
And the church itself is, well, except we are kidding ourselves, but the church itself is a business today, as of today.
Well,
So
the church shouldn't
why-
be a business.
It shouldn't be, but
Because
it
that is why
what
it is under a particular law and not registered as a business per se with the corporate
But
affairs
they are
commission.
making a lot of money.
Well, it all depends on how you view it. Yeah, and it all depends on the church. Because that's another angle where people also commit this error.
Well,
Number one, when I go somewhere, one of the first things I look for is the source of power. A church like Christ Embassy, when that building in Oregon got built, you saw the number of generators there. Running one of those generators for one service or in a week can consume 500 million, 1 billion naira. Because they are heavy duty generators. And you know the cost of diesel now. That is one part. Keeping the church itself, building the place, is another part. And then the church does a lot of giving to the poor, to charities, to schools, sponsoring this, sponsoring that. So sometimes when people come up with this argument, I have my fears. Do they really understand this concept? Yes, some people have turned it into money-making venture. Every money comes into their pockets. But when you look at what the church also spends, you know that if you say the church is making money that way, but the individuals heading those institutions, somebody can wake up and say, Pastor Chris, I hope you're good. Okay, you are going to the UK, let me bless you. You know? Or you are individuals. They write books. That's an individual. It's not the church. Because some people say, that book made them 300 million. It wasn't the church that wrote the book. It's the pastor.
But under the influence of the church, because if there was no church, probably would not have heard of the pastor.
Well, you are right.
Exactly.
But what we are saying is we must, even like the law in Nigeria says, distinguish the church from the pastor. Let's go back into what happened with the Kama law and all the rest. If we go into that, we'll be taking away the time we should have for this discussion. But that is well stated. A board, the church, every pastor must have a salary. You can't just wake up and say, like it is done in the past. When you are caught, you come and pay for it. Go and bring me 2 million. I'm traveling. There are procedures for all of those things. You can't wake up and do that again.
Now.
Yes, you can't. You cannot.
Okay, so let's look at Nathaniel Bassey's point.
Yes.
His own point of view, he's saying that he's a worshiper, and that he does not, according to him, he does not collect any form of money. He does not collect money to go and minister or worship somewhere, because when he's being called, in his mind, he's called to go and worship God. Apart from the fact that he's going to be blessing people, but he's called to go and worship God. So if he's charging, it means he's charging God. And according to him, he said, how much did Jesus collect to die for him?
Okay, good.
So he's not collecting money. But he says that because of his, of his standing or who he is, that he gets some, whether gifts, whether privileges, things that, like maybe money can buy and all that. So he's saying that you should not, he didn't say should not, but he says he does not collect money. So what do you think about that point of view? Is it that they should all just be like that and just leave their faith in the hands of the people that are calling them?
I agree with him completely. But there's something I know. For anybody worth his salt who is inviting somebody to play in the church, there must be what they've always called on the radio. You may not ask before you get there. You may not demand for it, but something will exchange hands. That's one. Number two, Nathaniel Bassey is not in the mold of some of these musicians that we are talking about, because there are other sources. So for him, there will be other sources of income. That much I know. I know that much. I know those big gospel artists who have monetized YouTube channels. So when you're at that top, that way, the kind of things that you get, you can't bring it to the level of pay me this again. You've gone beyond that. But there are some people who are upcoming. Just like we have, they say upcoming musicians, upcoming actors and actresses. We have them. So those people will still need those kind of incomes. And then don't forget also, when somebody like Nathaniel Bassey releases a song, anywhere you go, you see it that people are watching and all the rest. Royalties will come. Because that's his own sweat. Royalties will come. And some of these younger people are not yet in that mode. I'm not saying you should go and be demanding for money. Because some people, when you call them, the first thing they ask you is, how much are you paying?
See, I wanted us to talk about that. Because when you mentioned honorarium, I know that at least I've been I was in the church for a while, so I know some of these things. And I know that even these established musicians or artists or worshippers, or what would I call them, if it was that the honorarium they were receiving, if they could live on the honorarium, like if the honorarium was at par with their performance or at par with everything, it will not get to demanding. I know for a fact that there are some places that you go. In fact, there was this pastor who he did a video and he was talking about this, that you shouldn't collect money and all that. But he also mentioned that he has been to several places, even outside the country, to minister for 2 days, 3 days, and then they come back and they say, oh God, like, oh, we are having problems with our bank, oh, we are having, so those kind of things. So there are times that even if you are a big artist and all that, and then you go to perform somewhere, and then you are expecting that, oh, because of your caliber and all that, they are going to give you an honorarium. And then the honorarium they will give you may not even be enough, will not be something that would have been enough for you to transport you back and forth, especially if you are coming with your backups, or even if it's just you alone, So I think coming from that is why some people started, saying that, if you want me to come, this is how much it's going to cost, to be here. And I think that's what's up. Because if people were doing the right thing, and then they were giving you in accordance to, okay, you're coming from far, oh, you're coming from this, and then this is what you should, I think that's what led to the asking, my opinion anyway. Because,
it's not about opinion. You see, anything that you do, there is always a cost to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I like to sing. I have a few band people under me. And then I call them from their homes. I gather them, we go and play somewhere. And then we come back and I say, thank you for doing it for Jesus. They won't be able to feed their families. They won't answer you
next time. Exactly.
And then next time, you'll be left stranded. That's why I said, we must always look at the flip side. When you see it only from your own angle, you have missed the point completely. The pastor was talking about traveling outside the country, going to minister. It's because he could afford it.
He could afford it. He could afford it.
If you can afford it, why not? But don't forget also that money that he could afford did not just fly into his account.
And I'm sure
there was something that brought
that money. Church money.
There must be something that brought in that money. And I thought we must be careful how we position other people in the view of people, in the view of others. Because sometimes the impression that we create is they are money conscious. No.
Exactly.
They are just conscious of the fact that they have responsibilities. Anybody who is going to send a child to school, bring the band boys, eat, do all the rest, must be sure of where the next meal is going to come from. You can't just be pulling people out of their homes and saying they should come and play on empty stomach.
Use emotional blackmail and say it's for God.
That's not right. There must be something in place. And for you to get the best, you must be willing to spend. For you to keep the best, you must be willing to spend. That's why in every sector that you look at in the country, people who are able to keep their best hands are the ones who are willing to pay. Like I said, I'm not saying monetize everything in the house of God. But we must get to a point where we see those who are using their talent to better the lot of people and who need to take care of their own responsibilities back home. It's not just about, he doesn't want to sing in the church, he's asking for money. Yes, those who come and make it, you must pay me. I have a problem with that. But let us sit down and agree. We may not be able to pay you as much as those you are going to meet outside. But at least we can always do something. I know a lot of churches with some of these known artists on their payroll.
Okay, yes. So let's even talk about that. In Christ Embassy, from what we hear, we were told that all those artists, they were on a payroll, they were receiving salary, so, and they were handsomely paid, that they were paid very well. And then every time Pastor Chris had to leave the country to go minister and all that, he used to take them along, and of course, he paid for their travel and other expenses, and they were on a payroll, like I said. But I think the problem started, from what we hear, that the problem started when they were not making themselves available for the church, despite the fact that they were being paid.
Well. I was going to come to that point, that we must give it to Pastor Chris. He runs one of the most charitable churches in Nigeria. And it's not just giving to people who are outside. Internally, his pastors are well paid. I can tell you that. At least I know if
those are even pastors, not the singers.
Not the singers, they are well paid. So, but when we go back to the earlier point I made, that see, if you have agreed that this person's talent is what is going to bring the person money, a lot of things must go into it. Number one, always allow these people to tell you when their engagements are. Because you obviously can't pay them as they grow in talent and stature. You obviously, one person can't pay them. One person can't. So the church also must be conscious of this and always ask that question. Can you give us your itinerary at the beginning of the year? Can we know where you are playing, scheduled already?
But they may not know every time.
But yes, they may not know every time, but at least 3 months before they will know. 1 month before they will know. Somebody can't wake up today and come and say, Sinach, you are playing at my function tomorrow. That person won't do that. So it's a matter of understanding, see, I'm going to be in so place for this period. The church has its own calendar at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
At least that much I know. Serious churches, at the beginning of the year, you see the 365 days structured. Let those artists also have it well ahead of time. Let them have their schedules well ahead of time. Then they can now manage their own schedules vis-a-vis the expectations of other people, whether it is the church or those who are outside. Because if I know that your YouTube channel is going to pay me 100,000 every month, certainly, that is, I can base my calculation for the year on getting 1.2 million naira from you, or $1.2 million from you. Why will I now go and prioritize those who will only come in once in a year and give me that kind of money? I won't, because this is certain. That is the way these expectations should be managed. You shouldn't allow it to get to the point where your firm source of income, except they are not being paid.
What if what you are getting outside is more than that firm source of income?
If what you are getting outside is certain, like I say, is bigger, you must know that there is one that is certain. I don't know if you understand the point.
Well,
I know that every month I will get 100,000 naira from here. Somebody from outside is offering me 100,000 for one day to play somewhere.
What if the person is offering you 1 million or even 5 million?
The person is offering me 5 million
for 1 day.
For 1 day to play. Then I have to structure it into where I'm certain. I don't know if you understand it. This is certainty.
Fine.
That one is, it may come next year, it may not come.
But that one can pay this one several times over.
There is nothing that can pay it several times over. Don't forget, out of that 5 million is going to get, except you are not current with the realities. It's going to take instruments.
Yeah,
sometimes band boys. So by the time it's coming down from it, it may not even earn more than $1 million. We must, in fact, if it's the only one who is playing in certain places, he must bring his own generator.
No, which type of place is it going?
And I'm now telling
type
you
of
that
place that they can
I
pay
say,
5 million.
I
They have,
say,
they have
no.
Meccano.
Listen to me. In places, in event centers, they insist musicians must bring their own generator, different from their own. Go and find out in most of the event centers in Nigeria.
Wow.
I'm telling you that. You can ask anybody. In most of them, 90%, musicians must bring their own generators. They don't want anything to do with them. So you provide all of those things for yourselves, and then you are now saying something that drops that is not certain. You are now leaving it for certainty. It doesn't make sense to me. Yes, I agree with you. Somebody may come and say, okay, your church is paying you the whole of the year, 12 million naira. For this one show, I pay you 20 million. But it still doesn't make sense. Because the day that 20 million doesn't come, you won't have anything to fall back
At
on.
least it has come. That has come.
That is like a child that you gave
Sweet.
biscuits. Who now sees you coming from afar off, holding sweet, and throws the biscuit away? It doesn't make sense, because that sweet, you are not even sure that it will come, it will get to you. Whatever is certain is far better than what is uncertain. And that's my point. That's why I say, see, it is a matter of let's meet. Where is the middle ground?
I think another problem that may be causing or may have caused or is causing this is that, I think some of these artists outgrow these places, or they feel like they have outgrown these places, so they want to normal now, this is a normal
change environment.
Yes, let me change environment, or let me branch out, like I'm too big for this place now. I need to,
I
move
agree
up,
with you.
So
You remember I said it earlier that as these people grow, the church must also grow to meet them. I said it earlier. Everybody wants a change.
Exactly.
But in wanting a change, my own advice to people is don't leave a rough patch where you are living. Like they keep saying, when you are growing up, when you are going up, don't remove the ladder.
Exactly.
So that when you need to come down, yes, there's something you can step on. People always believe that they've outgrown somewhere. They have become the big star. What I always pray for them is they should not have any challenge. Because if you have a challenge and the only place you can go back to is where you have rubbished,
Yes,
then it's not good for you. Because even your own psyche will not be able to bear the kind of shame that will come with running to that place. But you have to. So that's why it's good, if you need to move on, part in an amicable way. This thing can't work for me again. Because in reality, some people, they get to a stage in life and even they can't manage their own affairs. They can't. That's why they now go. They will get artist manager. They will get PA. Because they can't keep up with it.
Well, maybe they've grown now. When you go to a
grown.
certain level,
and that is why you have to keep discussing. You have to let people know. Some people call us in the Igbo Online and they offer us certain things. And I say, no. They say, but we did it we did it last year. I say, no. We have gone past that level.
Exactly.
When you bring this, it's like a slap on our face. So you need to understand that part time people grow. But don't grow in a way that you are going to live.
That you forget your roots.
Completely, and then make a mess of the whole process. It's not a good thing to do. It's not. There are churches where pastors want to leave, high-ranking pastors, and the person in charge will bless them, and there are churches where they fight before they leave. That's not supposed to be. You are not, as the head of a church, the only one with a vision. Everybody has a vision and a mission. So when somebody says, I need to move, then you must part on a friendly basis so that the day you need that person is available for you to use. You don't need to fight. It's the house of God. Whether one person or the other is there or not, God will do his work.
They are fighting
Except
for
you are
God.
one to fight for
They
God.
are fighting
God
for
that
God.
has not called you
God
to
that
fight
does
for
not
him.
need everything.
You know, so we must be careful. with all
Yeah.
of those things. You know.
Okay. Thank you again for another interesting conversation. And I hope that this is okay. Let me know. I'm not hoping. This is our own 2 pence on this matter.
Yeah,
Everybody's
it is
entitled
indeed.
to their opinions,
Exactly.
but you know, like we said, everybody can come to an agreement. There doesn't need to be a fight or anything like that. And then the pastors, like me, I've said that because pastors collect money, and even the Bible has said a laborer is worthy of what? His wages. You know, so everybody is laboring and everybody should be. And somebody was even, before we go, somebody was citing an example about in the Bible. Did you see in the Bible when they called when Saul called David, or who did he call? Yes, a minstrel, that the minstrel should come and play for. Did you hear that he was saying, you must pay me this, you must pay me that? And I'm like, you know, of course it wasn't recorded in the Bible. But then we know that when when David went to minister to Saul, you know, Saul was impressed. And I'm sure that something, he would have,
some things are not said.
yeah, some things are not said. He would have
There is
appreciated
nobody
him somehow.
who goes before the king that does not come out smiling. Let's leave it at
Exactly.
that.
And then to the point
Nobody
where
goes
he
to
now
the
became
king.
a regular, you know, so he was ministering to the king. So are you telling me
Even
that
if
he
he
would
has
have
not
been
gone to play anything, the fact that you are even in front of the king, you know that you are made now.
Exactly.
Not even the king of those days.
Exactly,
You know,
he
the
would
king
have
of those
gotten
days.
a few pieces of silver, a few pieces
Some
of
things are not
gold.
written. It's not everything that is written in the Bible.
Yeah.
Not
And then I also
everything.
believe that, you know, some things suffice for some certain times, and then we are in different times. So we should move with the time and stop saying like that time, you know.
No, I even disagree with that. David must have gone home smiling.
Of course. For him to be going back, and he went home smiling, and he kept going home smiling. Okay, so that's what we have for you today. I'm sure you've enjoyed this conversation, so please like this video and also share to, you know, people who might be interested in it. And don't forget to subscribe so you get notifications when we come out with other videos, and follow us on all our social media handles at The Eagle Online. And we'll see you next time with another interesting topic.
Right. Bye.
Bye.
See you.